Okay, so now we're going to move on to using sampling to predict with some biased and unbiased types of populations. So quite a few vocab words here. A sample is a randomly selected smaller group chosen from a larger group or population. So the population is the large group. So I'm going to underline that. An unbiased sample is a representative of a larger population selected without preference and large enough to provide accurate data. A biased sample is not representative for the larger population. Then we have different types of biased and unbiased here. So these are vocab words as well. I'm going to let you write those down. Take a moment to pause it. It's going to take a little while to write those down. But simple random sample where each item or person in a population is as likely to be chosen. So just randomly drawn. Stratified means that we're taking a sample in which the population is divided into smaller, non-overlapping groups. So this might be like your math class, your girls, boys, 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders. Systematic, this is where you have a specific time or item interval. So I ask every 10th person that walks in the door. On the hour, at noon, every day I ask a question. And then we have bias samples. Convenience is a sample that includes members of the population that are easily accessed. So for me, it would be asking my math students because it's convenient to me. Voluntary is when you ask people who volunteer their answers. So this would be like a radio station asking you to call in. Well, you're going to call in if you're either really happy or you're really sad, negative about their opinion. So voluntary is also a biased way. So basically we're just going to go through and identify these types of things as biased or unbiased and what kind. So an example, to determine the popularity of a political candidate, 5 people are randomly polled from 10 different age groups of eligible voters. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. So because they are randomly polled and we have different age groups of eligible voters, this would be unbiased, and it is a stratified random. Easily confused with simple random, but this one is because we have non-overlapping groups, different ages from different all voters. So instead of it just being random, so the different age groups tell me it's a non-overlapping group. To determine the average number of hours that students study, members of a math club are polled. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased. Because they're only asking math students, this is biased. And that would be not voluntary, but convenience. A television studio wants to know what viewers think about their programming. They mail a questionnaire to a random selection of residents in their area. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased. So this one's tough. They're not requiring them to send it back, and it's random. That word, you're like, oh yeah, it's random. But they don't have to send it back. So this is actually biased, and it's a voluntary type of situation. Really, people are only going to email and send back their questionnaire if they're really happy with the radio station or really negative, not just randomly. A new bill is being passed in the state Senate, but politicians want to know what their constituents think. One politician goes to every 10th person's house in a neighborhood and asks how they feel about the bill. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. So they're being random and they're being very systematic about who they ask. So this is unbiased, and it's systematic random. To test the frog population for diseases, an environmental group examines 50 males and 50 females, so an even amount of both. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. So that's good. That would be unbiased, and they're grouping them into males and females, so that would be the stratified random. Okay, practicing a few more on the back. You can actually make predictions like we did yesterday. about the characteristics of a larger populations based on smaller samples depending on the method. So it has to be, so must be unbiased. If you have biased information, you cannot predict anything because it's not fair. Shopping. Determine the number of first-time visitors in a mall. Every 15th shopper to enter the mall was polled. It doesn't say male, female, or if their age matters, but every 15th. So they were very systematic. There were 3,000 total shoppers in the mall, and of the shoppers polled, 26 shoppers were in the mall for the first time. Is this sampling method valid? The answer to that is yes. If so, okay, so yes. This is unbiased, and gets a little more specific. This is systematic. Random. So since it is unbiased, we can make a prediction. So it says there were 3,000 total visitors in the mall, and of the shoppers polled, 26 shoppers were in the mall for the first time. So this one's a little tricky because it says if there were 3,000 total shoppers in the mall and every 15th one was polled, we have to figure out how many were polled. So 3,000 divided by 15 is 200. So I want to show that I did that. So 3,000 people divided by the 15th person asked. This tells me that 200 people were asked. Out of that, we had 26 out of 200 people say that they were there for the first time. So 26 out of 200 is 13 out of 100. So that is 13%. If I take 13% times 3,000, or 0.13, times 3,000, I get that 390 would be there for the first time. 390 shoppers. That one's a little tougher because it didn't give you the total. We had to figure it out doing this. Most of them will give you the total. Magazine publisher mailed a survey to its subscribers to find out how many plan on renewing their subscription this year. 200 people responded that they would renew. Is this sampling method valid? Is this biased or unbiased? The answer is it's biased. It's a voluntary response. So we can't, no predictions here. We cannot predict because it is a biased. To determine the consistency of a printer, 100 printed sheets are randomly checked and 4 sheets are defective. Okay, so this is, what type of sampling method is this? This is unbiased, and it's simple random. So I just randomly selected 100 sheets. About how many defective sheets would be expected if 2,400 were printed? So 4 out of 100, well that's 4%, or 0.04, and then we can take that times our 2,400. That's going to tell us that 96 sheets out of 2,400 will be defective. Movie theater managed to hand out surveys to 100 customers before the movie begins. At the end of the movie, 40 customers return their survey. Of the 40, this is already going ding, 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 ding. Surveys, voluntary. They said they had a bad experience. Well, duh, 32 responded because they're very opinionated. So is this, what type of sampling method is this? This is biased, voluntary, therefore no predictions. Last one. A TV manufacturer company wants to test the quality of their TVs. They randomly pick, that's good, 50 TVs to test, determine that 4 are defective. So what type of sampling is this? This is unbiased, simple random. And so we can make a prediction. So it says 4 out of 50. Well, that's 8 out of 100, which is 8%, or 0.08. I can take that times 1,000. That would give me 80. 80 TVs. And that's it. Have a great day.